the oil and filter today. Now, underneath the hood, you can see the filter from right up on top here. This is the front of the engine now. This is your oil filter right down here. And what we're going to do is we're going to loosen up the filter and we're going to remove it. And what we're going to do to use to remove it, it's a tool like this here. It actually goes around the filter and you can remove the filter. So you just put it around the filter, just like that, and you go counterclockwise to remove it. And once you have it loose, then you can turn it off by hand. What I would recommend is to make sure you have your bucket underneath there, because it's going to leak a little bit of oil. And we'll just let it drain out a little bit down into the bucket. And once it finishes draining, then we'll take the filter off. But in the meantime, while the filter is draining, I just want to show you the new filter. You just put a little bead of oil around the top of the new filter, just so that the gasket is lubricated, so it slides fairly easy when it goes onto the vehicle. Right. Now, while the filter is finished draining out, we're just going to take it off the car, or truck in this particular case. Just unscrew it, and there's a lot of oil in there, so if you have a bucket, of course, just let it drain into the bucket. And let me just take this out of here. Alright, one thing I want to point out is that you see how the gasket is on this here? On the old filter, you have to make sure that the gasket came off the housing up underneath the bottom right here, just to make sure that the gasket came off and it didn't stay up there. In this case here, it did come off, so nothing to worry about. And we're going to screw the new filter on by hand as tight as we can make it. Alright, now we're going to lift the vehicle up and we're going to change the oil from the bottom. Okay, now that we got the truck up in the air, that's your right side tire. And this is a little bit further back behind where the tire center would be. Up underneath there is where you see the oil drain plug. So what we're going to do is we're going to get on there with a ratchet and we're going to open it up and we're going to let it drain out into the bucket. So let me grab a ratchet and I'll get started on it. A little bit messy, so just make sure you have a bucket underneath the bottom to catch the oil. What I always find is it's easier getting up there with a longer extension and cracking that bolt loose. Remember again, to take it off, it's counterclockwise. And hold the ratchet on there straight, and you break it loose. Once you get it loose, and you bring the bucket up underneath it, and obviously you want to try to catch the oil in there. Make sure you're wearing your gloves. You don't want to get this stuff on your hands. And we'll just let it drain out. Now once it finishes draining, then we'll put the drain plug back in and we'll tighten it up and we'll be all set. So while this drains out, I'll come back in just a moment. Now that it's stopped draining, we're going to take our drain plug and we're going to screw it back in, and then we'll tighten it up with the ratchet. Only screw it in by hand, never tighten it with a ratchet until you're ready to tighten it. You don't want to cross thread it into the oil pan by accident. Alright, screw it all the way in, and then we're going to grab our ratchet and we'll tighten it up. Remember, it's clockwise to tighten it up. You don't want to go too tight because you don't want to strip out the pan. And then just wipe off any excess grease or any oil that may have been up underneath the shield there so you don't make a mess. And now we're going to lower it down and we'll put some oil in it. So let me bring it back down onto the ground and I'll show you the next step. Okay, now that we got it down on the ground again, we're going to put the oil in the car. And you always want to check to see what the manufacturer recommends for the oil. In this particular case, it's 5W20. So you just take this cap off, and we'll grab a funnel, and we'll put it in there. I know if we're looking it up on the computer that this takes 5 quarts of oil, so after we get the 5th quart in there, we'll remove the oil funnel across, we'll put the cap back on, and we're going to start it up in just a minute and let it run. Put the cap on. After you let it run for a minute, you just let it sit, and then even if it says 5 quarts, whenever you do the oil change, always check it to make sure that it's full. It's better to be safe than to have a problem. Alright, so after it sits for a minute, just pull the dipstick out, wipe the stick down so it's nice and clean, and then we'll put it into the, back into where the dipstick goes. Push it all the way down as far as it goes till it seats. And then you pull it out and make sure you're up to the full mark, which is exactly where we are. So we're in good shape. Alright, next thing you want to do is just look around, make sure you have no leaks underneath there. If you did your job correctly, there'll be no leaks. So let's take a peek down there just to make sure. Oil filter is nice and dry, and that's it. We're all set. Alright, thanks for watching. Good luck, and I'll see you on the next one.